Hey YouTube, this is Montana Mountain Man, and today we're going to do something just a little bit different. We're going to go over some decoys that we recently bought this last waterfowl season. This right here is the Lucky Duck Lucky Flapper, the goose flapper. These wings are made out of cloth, and they actually have feather designs on the back. It's a 12-volt battery. It lasts up to about 8 to 10 hours on full mode. It does have a flocked head. It has a stand. It's not really made for water purposes. This is mostly like a field decoy. You can put it in really shallow water. I called Lucky Duck to see if you could get any extensions. They say not to extend it much further because then when the wind starts blowing, it has a tendency to fall over because this decoy weighs about, I want to say about 10 pounds itself. And it does have a timer. You turn it on. It'll run 3 seconds on, 10 seconds off. Or you can just turn it on, full mode. When I first got this decoy, the battery didn't work in the remote, so sometimes you might have a problem with that. If you can't get it to connect with the transmitter in the front of the decoy, you're definitely going to have to call them and they're going to have to send you another battery, because that's what I had to do. You do have the button for the on-off switch is right down here below the decoy. I don't know if you can see it. It's this button right here. If you want the timer, you have to press it forward, and you have to turn it on. If you want it full mode, if you don't have a remote, which it does come with the decoy, you'll press it back, and it'll just go. And there is a knob on the other side. I don't know if you can see it. It's right here. It's this turn knob right here. You turn it, and it'll get faster. Or you can turn it back down. Overall, I would say this decoy is, pretty realistic. I mean, you're not going to find much of a more realistic decoy than this right here. And I think we got it on sale, and I think they paid about $120 for it. They originally go for about $200, depending on where you buy it from. I guess we did get it for $170 on sale. It was like 20% off or something like that. You can find good deals after waterfowl season for some decoys. We do have some decoys back here we're going to show you later on. I do have 2 Lucky Duck mojos, the duck decoys. And I like them because one's a hen and the other one's a drake. Most of them just come with drakes only. Okay, go ahead. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to take apart this decoy majesty right here. So you have arms, you'll just pull them out. When you put these on, you have to make sure you match up this knob with this hole, otherwise it will not work. You'll pull this back and you'll slide it out. And when you put it back on, you'll slide it in like this, and you'll turn it, make sure you have it equally set up the way the hole is, and you're going to push it right on in there, and it'll work. So we're going to take this apart on both sides. It doesn't take too long to put together and take apart, but you do know how I have to do it, because when you first do it, I had troubles, putting it on and together correctly. And I will mention one thing, these cloth wings, if you can zoom in on here. There you go. Take a look at these feathers. They're made out of cloth, so any sort of scratching will take off these the graphics on these. That's one thing you do have to watch out. I had it carrying in my bag, and this year it was scraping up against each other, so it did take a little dismantle off of it. The head just twists and turns, and it pops right off. And like I mentioned before, it is a 12-volt battery, and so we'll take these out. And we'll put these safety mechanisms back on here. And all this is just Velcroed on. It's not too shabby. And that's how you take it apart. And you put it together just the opposite as I put it in. It doesn't take too long, like I said. Obviously, with the decoys we have and we're going to be putting out next year, we're going to want to be out there about 2 hours before daylight and not set up till about an hour before, just because all the decoys we're going to be having, we're going to have to carry all of the decoys, which is going to get heavy after a while. So next we'll talk about these Lucky Duck mojos over here.
Okay, that's it.
Alrighty, so here's the Lucky Duck Drake, and as with the goose decoy I mentioned before, the button's going to be right down here on the bottom. There's only one problem I had this last hunting season. There is a dummy plug, and the ones I got did not come with the remotes. And if you don't pay attention, I had one of these fall out somehow during hunting season, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was until I looked underneath the decoy and the dummy plug fell out, and obviously without a dummy plug it will not work. So that one's the Drake. Doesn't look too shabby. And I think these ones cost about, we got them on sale for about $85. They're originally about $115. So that definitely was not a bad deal for 2 mojos. But like I mentioned before, most of the mojos, they only come with Drakes, and I don't understand why. I liked it because it did come with a hen. So we'll turn that one off. And this one's the hen. It doesn't quite look as realistic as this Drake, but I do like the head formation of it. Turn that one on too. They're not a fast turning decoy, if you notice about the wings. They're not super duper fast. I mean, they do run off, I believe, 4 AA batteries, and they do last about 8 hours. So it's not too bad. You just have to watch where you put them in the water. I mean, you can get extensions for these mojos for the fields and the water. I personally don't have a use for them because where we hunt, we try to hunt shallow water since we don't have a dog. So there are those mojos, and remember, these are the Lucky Duck mojos by Lucky Duck, obviously. So, and we have a few other decoys back here we're going to start to mention when I show you after how to take these apart. We do have some Dakota decoys, the extreme mallards. We have some extreme widgeon, and he did end up buying a GHG because I believe that decoy was about $150. So when you take these apart, these are magnetic. You just pull them out. It's not hard at all. You just undo these, take these out, and then the stakes are 3 feet. I like to take the dummy plugs out and put them in a special place because, like I said, I already lost one, and I really don't want to lose another one. So I put them in my pouch that I carry during hunting season, so that way I don't ever tend to lose them. And I'll put them in right before hunting season, right before we go out in the morning when we go to set up. So there's the 3 Lucky Duck mojos. We got the goose flapper and the 2 duck decoys. And then we're going to take a look at these other ones we got here.
Hello, this is Montana Mountain Man with Sasquatch here. And we have a decoy here. It's the GHG Navigator. And we used it quite a bit this year. It's actually really impressive. I actually had a duck land actually right next to this, thinking it was an actual duck, swimming with it. Now, the thing is about it, now it's not like most of them where they have one, or it's a 12-volt battery inside the decoy. It has 2 D batteries, my bad. D batteries in this propelled system right here. And it has 12 volts, and it's pretty, not fast, but it's like a regular duck swimming in the water. Now, there is a problem with it when it starts swimming in like very heavy wind waters. It does kind of pop up a little bit because it's trying to swim at the same time, and it shows part of this. But that's like only during really heavy winds. Now, on the plus side, this, I'm not gonna lie, this has some pretty good painting on it. I've dropped it a couple times. Nothing's happened to it. It hasn't even scratched. Now, it does come with a swivel head, which is great, which means you can make your decoy spread look more realistic. Other than that, this thing is actually supposed to run for 4 hours with these 2 batteries. Now, I've had it run to 4 hours, and tell you what, it looks like a real duck in the water. Like I said, I had a duck land right next to it and swim with it. Now, you kind of, depending on how deep it gets, what water you go to, they bring this lead with you, but I had to rig up another system with some cord and a sinker to make it match to where the length I needed to go. Now, it will swim around, so which means you have to keep this cord pretty tight so it don't get tangled up, let's say like around this and other decoys. But other than that, I love this decoy. We did have problems with it later in the season when the water was cold. I mean, it was what, 20 degrees and lower when we tried using it, and it didn't last more than 30 minutes. Now, that could be from the cold water, of course, because it's not inside the duck, it's getting complete surrounded in the water, submerged. So that could be the reason why it drained the battery so much. Other than that, great decoy. That's all I gotta say about GHG Navigator. Okay, so these are the Dakota Extreme widgeon decoys. Now, these are weighted keels. Now, unlike the GHG one I had, that's not weighted. This has some very fine painting. If you want to zoom in on the head here, it actually has some very good blending with the colors. The green is really good with the black almost towards the end where the eyes are at. Now we have the white on top, very white. It's not like a creamy color, but it sticks out on the water, and that works very well. We haven't used these yet. I just bought these actually, and from just this last year we've tried other decoys. They work just as well, but I prefer more of the detail than anything else. And these are bigger than the life-size decoys. They're a 10% bigger. So, I mean, you can take a look at it. Very well designed. Looks like a widgeon. Montana Mountain Man has. He has the hen, and it's just almost like almost spit an image of the hen. Almost. I mean, size is the actual hen too. The drake is a little bit bigger, but I mean, you can't ask for a better decoy with the widgeon. I prefer. Now, Montana Mountain Man might disagree. I don't know. What do you have to say on it?
So what I have to say is the only thing that I kind of wish was different, like most of the other Dakota decoys, is I wish they had detachable heads. So if anything happens to these decoys, you kind of either paint them, or if you shoot them, then you gotta just go buy more decoys, or patch it together somehow. These ones are not flocked heads, they are all painted. These are not flocked bodies at all. They're all painted. I don't know how many steps they say, like 25 different steps of painting, I believe is what they have on their internet. The one thing I do like about it is that actually the blue on the bill is almost the same exact color as the blue on an actual live widgeon. Now, I do like the decoy because, well, to me, Dakotas are just the ones I like. I'm not a fan of some of the other ones. They just don't look as realistic, like Hidgen. Now, I'm not putting the company down by any means. I just prefer Dakota. When I first bought Dakota, we bought the Dakota Mallards, which are right back here. And we'll go ahead and show you them. This is what really got me hooked on Dakota.
Now, here's the Dakota Extreme 12-pack. They have different heads on them. There's a specific word for it. I don't remember. Do you? For that?
Specific.
It was
Resting, preening, active.
Yep. And this one, and now some of these are asleep. So, and they do have, the drakes do have flocked heads. And the thing is, the flocking goes over the eye, just like a mallard's eyes would close. And the thing is with these, they're the same thing, 10% bigger, I believe, rather than the actual size. And all I gotta say, we have used these this year, or last year I should say, and man, we've killed pintail over them. We've killed some goldeneye, widgeon. We've killed, I mean, it's just been a number of ducks we've killed over top of these. Even some geese. But other than that, I mean, these are the same thing with the widgeon. They're weighted keels, and they look real in the water. They actually look like they're swimming. They're not heavy. They're pretty light, but I mean, the flocking on the head is just amazing on this. I mean, there's dark, bright, you know, all over the place. I mean, there was one that's resting with its neck all twisted, going underneath the back right here. It looks like it's asleep no matter what. It was pretty good looking. And they do have the bright white on the bottom to catch the reflection off the water to get the duck's attention. Yeah, that's all I have to say about these. These are actually really good quality decoys. And we did spend quite a bit of money to get these. And tell you what, they are well worth it. Anything that you have to say there, Mountain Man?
We paid about $160 for these decoys over at Sportsman's Warehouse. Like I mentioned before, like the widgeon don't have. These ones do have detachable heads, and you can move them. And I mean, they're just. And you can buy these heads too. That's the only reason why I like these over the widgeon. You can buy these heads, and I believe the drakes, the flocked drake heads, are about $30 for 7 without shipping. So I would say about $36, $37 a piece. We did have one problem with one of these heads. You want to zoom in? Montana Mountain Man was out hunting with these decoys, and he went to pick one up from the head, and the detachable part where you screw on popped open. It broke. Now, I'm not going to say it was the manufacturing place or it was somebody, Montana Mountain Man, but this stuff does happen. Who knows? It could have got super cold and there was like maybe a little crack in our eye to begin with. Who knows? We do not know. But I'm not going to complain. I mean, they're pretty cheap for the hens. They are $15, but for shipping it's kind of a spendy, so they'll bring that up to $33.78. But, I mean, I'm not going to complain. But you don't just get one, you get 5. So, I mean, it's just great to have some spares on there, just in case if anything happens. And they're not all the same heads. Some of them are active, some of them are preening and all that kind of stuff. If you can see here, this one's inactive and this one's, you know, just kind of being itself, being a little lazy duck, you know. The one thing I also do like about these is just the way it looks. I didn't really believe it when we brought these out into the water. I was like, I don't know if you're going to pay for it because of the company name or anything, but I tell you what, we put these out on the water and I couldn't tell the difference between a duck and these decoys. They were just phenomenal. And I have nothing bad to say about these other than, like I said, that little head problem. But I mean, that happens on any decoy. I mean, you can buy them, the shipping, who knows? It could have been shipped to Sportsman's Warehouse bad. They could have broke that way. Who knows? But they are replaceable, so that's also a good option to have. Some, like, my Caribbean Cowboy has these flambeaux, and they aren't detachable heads, so if anything happens like that, you can't replace the heads, you just got to paint them. But so far, I mean, we haven't had any chipping on the paint. You know, the paint is actually really handling well, especially the flocked heads. I did have a concern with the flocked heads before I bought them. I didn't know how long they were going to last. We did use them for about half of the season, and nothing is going wrong with the flocked heads. Now, over time, of course, the flocked heads will, you know, with all the snow and rain that we get here, and just the beating of the decoys, it will eventually go bad. But like I said, you can always buy the heads.
And what we do to kind of save the life on the flocked heads is that we put socks over them, so if they rub up against something, it's not tearing away at the flocking itself. What we're going to try to do is get rid of the socks, and we're going to put some some spandex on there, because it's a lot smoother, it's stretchable, it's not as rough on the flocking itself. But we'll see how that goes. That's all.
But so far, I can't say anything bad about these decoys. I mean, they are, you get what you pay for, and I will tell you that that is the truth. I mean, I wasn't, you know, really wanting to spend $160 on 12 decoys, but when I saw them in the water and how many birds were actually landing compared to earlier in the season, I was just shocked. And it's always nice to have different brands of decoys too. I mean, because a lot of other people can't afford some of these decoys, and they buy some of the cheaper ones. And I mean, ducks over time can, you know, once they fly south, they will notice, you know, there is something wrong when you only have mallards in your spread. We like to have a variety. We do mallards, widgeon, pintail, teal, and most of them are Dakotas. I mean, the only ones that aren't really Dakotas are the goldeneye that we'll be purchasing here pretty soon, and the shovelers. Other than that, most of them will be Dakotas, and I believe the redheads will be Avian X, I believe. Other than that, I mean, you got to switch it up. You can't just have mallards, and that's what I believe a lot of people that don't always have success hunting is all they throw out there is mallards. I mean, eventually ducks aren't going to land into just mallards when, I mean, they're getting shot at all the time. Now, early in the season, mallards will do fine. But later on the season, the ducks do get, you know, shy. They won't come in to just mallard decoys. Sometimes you have to throw out a different kind of species out there.
Yep, I have to agree with that. I mean, I've shot many of mallards over old flambeau pigeon, or pintail, my bad, pintail decoys. I mean, we shot buffalo heads over Avian X, teal. We shot, well, that was one of our buddies. We've shot pintail, like just
a variety.
Yeah.
And they say Montana's not a good waterfowl hunting state. Well, they have something different coming, because where we hunt, I mean, it's just phenomenal. And we will do videos later on this year of us duck hunting, and we will show you what these actually look like in real life water.
Yep. Keep that on there.
So we're going to do a little bit of comparison here. So this is Carbine Cowboy's old flambeau decoy.
20 freaking years old.
These he's used since, I don't know, he was 20 years old. And these are the Dakotas. Now if you want to zoom in here, we will show you kind of some of the difference in the decoys. I mean, if you notice, you can already tell that the Dakotas are a lot bigger. Just the painting and the graphics are just so much different. I mean, you can definitely tell the difference. The beak is just more realistic. The head is more life-sized, realistic. Just the graphics in general. And like Sasquatch said, this one doesn't have the light underneath, and this one does, so it kind of helps it reflect off the water. But I mean, this one actually looks like it has, you know, its wings. This one don't even really look like it has that many wings. And it's just, I mean, over 20 years, obviously, you know, companies come out with better decoys, but I am truly a believer of these Dakotas, and these ones do not have detachable heads either. Sasquatch over here decided to shoot one of the green heads, you know, this last year.
Yeah. So what happened was, matter of fact, it was with the GHG one. It landed in between this one and the GHG Navigator, and it went to fly off, and I fell asleep actually. And what woke me up was it flying off, and I went to go shoot it, and I smoked it in the head. If you can zoom in right on here where my finger's pointing, you can kind of see where some black is sitting at. But I mean, it didn't take in no water, no nothing. I will give it one credit. I will give one credit for Flambeau. They do make a durable duck decoy. I mean, I fully on shot this like at 25 yards. Like the spread hit it in the head and everything. It made a really good impact. I mean, I was surprised. I thought I just destroyed 2 of Carbine Cowboy's decoys. But, I mean, even still, like what Montana Mountain Man right here was saying, you can definitely tell by the size. It don't matter. They're both the flambeau is the flambeau. But the thing that sticks out is if you look at the carvings on this drake right here, you can see where it seems like it has little feathers. And it doesn't really look. I mean that puts a lot of detail into it. But I mean that was 20 years ago, back in the day where that was high quality. But I mean today now it's just, you can see on the back where you can't tell where's the wings are at specifically. I mean you can tell that there's a little ridge line kind of, but not that well. But I mean we've shot many a ducks over these. They still work if you're just getting into waterfowl. I personally would recommend flambeau. Now there is one downside of it. These they cannot rub up against a lot of like other decoys. What I mean by that, yeah, they can take a shotgun shell or shotgun shot pretty well, but the painting on it is actually, and it could be over the years too, over the cold weather, because he had these when he was in Oregon, so it could expand it, you know, and all that. But some of it's chipping away down here. I mean, over the years of using them and abusing them, yeah, that will happen. But I mean, you can always, just like Montana Mountain Man, just repaint it. Just repaint it. It's not a big deal. Try to get, you know, you can tape it off a certain way to make sure that it's the same. So, I mean, but they did make a really good decoy 20 years ago, back in the day. But it's just that's is what it is. It's technology. So here's the here is all the Dakota decoys that we have right now.
We will be doing another video. We did order some teal, and I mean they were actually pretty cheap, $45 for 6. We bought 6 green wing, 6 blue wing. We'll do a video when those come in. We will be doing some pintail. The pintail do have flocked heads and detachable heads too. The teal do not. We'll be having red heads, golden eye. We'll do a review all over the other ducks we'll get. We'll get some goose decoys and we'll do that. But these right here are the Dakotas, and you can definitely tell, I mean, they're worth the money. I mean, this green, when that sun shines bright early in the morning, it's going to reflect, and I mean, it's going to shine them ducks. And then just the flocked heads in general, I'm just impressed, actually. I didn't think they were going to be all so great, but I mean, the advertisement, and, you know, everyone puts them down because, well, the flocked heads go bad, you know. You can buy them. I mean, I'd rather buy flocked heads than buy a whole new decoy. That's me personally. But to wrap it up, if you're just beginning into waterfowl hunting, you know, some of the cheaper decoys aren't, you know, bad, especially if you're just getting into it and you don't know if you'll like it or not. But if you're experienced, you love duck hunting, it's your passion, I would say definitely Dakotas are the way to go, and you'll see that when you go ahead and buy them and you put them in the field, and you'll realize you'll get a lot more ducks landed.
Yeah, I mean, from just improving from, like what he just said, we were using the flambeaus early in the season. We would have maybe, I don't know, maybe out of the whole day 50 ducks look at us, just look at us, maybe come in. Now once we upgraded this, I mean, heck, we had almost a whole flock of 100 teal fly into our decoys, almost. I mean, it was just impressive on how they did that. I mean, they look for specific details like that stuff. So,
I mean, ducks are no joke. I mean, they're not blind.
They have very good eye vision.
So that's a wrap up for today for these decoys. Well, like I said, we have some teal coming in. We'll do some on the pintail, and then maybe in the next week or so we might do a video on some duck calls and the different brands and the different sounds and some stuff like that. So from the Montana Mountain Man and Sasquatch, be safe.